Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. I am Mad Capper, and this is another video on Raid Shadow Legends. Today I'm stealing a page out of one of the content creators who was very well known. You've probably seen his videos once or twice around. Ash, blatantly stealing his ideas, and we're going to go over all the rares that I have 60'd on my account and why. Just a little insight into how someone builds, why someone builds, and be some interesting, maybe some gems for you in the rare scope, maybe just a good chance to laugh at my misfortune. Either way, why don't we get right into it and take a look at all the rares I have built to 60 on my account. All right, we're not going to do a big in-depth analysis here. Let me just let's just make sure I have all the rares out of the account. You know, you move them back and forth. I thought I got them all. Just one last check. Don't see any. Yeah, okay, we are good. So let's just expand this. We're going to rip ourselves down. We're going to go through all the... It hurt. Almost all the 60s that are epics, and you just see all the ones you're like, why? But anyway, here we are. So, let's take a look at all the rares I've built. You can see them all on one page. We'll probably talk about armagers as well. Why not? And then a couple of uncommons down there at the bottom we'll go through. But first, let's start right at the top with Fnatic. Why did I build Fnatic? Simply put, when Shadowkin first came out, I had the idea and plan of building out all the rares from Shadowkin and doing a little feature video on it. Unfortunately, I didn't get all the rares right away, and for some reason, some weird mythical reason, Plarium decided not to give me the rares through Ancient Shards, so I wasn't able to do the video in time, and then by the time I got all the rares, I was really bored. But I did build out, I think, 4 rares or 3 rares of the Shadowkin faction. One of them was actually used. I actually used him stuff. We'll get to him later. Fnatic was not one of them. Simply built just to have rares in the Shadowkin faction. Second one was Dagger. I built out Dagger for a video, and she was one of the few rares that I've actually done a video on in the I Built Them series. And the reason was because her kit was so finely tuned to be a... not necessarily the replacement to War Maiden, but an alternative, because she was Void Affinity. Her skill set had very similar things. Also, in the Banner Lords, it was really nice, because I don't believe I had a defense down at the time. I believe they have them now, but at the time it was really hard to get. So it was all about this ability right here, a 3-turn cooldown. Unfortunately, a 75% chance, because Plarium loves... not giving 100% chance on stuff, so you take the mastery to get yourself 80%, and pretty good, but also has a decreased attack that is a big boy decreased attack if they have a decreased defense debuff, so it's kind of a useful one. Also has a little bit of a turn meter boost. Overall, a really good rare to build if you're looking for someone to help you out in Bannerlords. Definitely recommend Dagger. Panthera was another champion that I actually built for the I Built Them series. Very few. What happens is I do, on my Twitch, I have a standing rule that if we get a level 5 hype train, then I will build the next champion out of a sacred. So long as I haven't already built them before. A couple times, though, I had actually said, hey, you know what? It's 2-time voids or whatever the event was. I'm pulling voids now, so we'll build the next void regardless of what it is. And Panthera was one of them. I think Dagger might have been the other. There was definitely 2 void that I built out because of that. I can't remember which 2. But Panthera was definitely one of them. I also thought, man, this might be a really good budget version for Fire Knight. And while, yes, I actually have used her in Fire Knight for the clan quests, Skinwalker I used level 20 with Skinwalkers to get through the clan quest, defeat Fire Knight with all Skinwalker. Her kit almost feels good for it. She's got the perfect veil with the reflect damage, so she's keeping herself alive a little bit and getting that reflect damage for just an extra hit on the shields. She's got the heal reduction, which is a 100% chance to land with a multi-hit, and then she has a multi-hit A1 as well that reduces target's turn meter by 3%. The reality is, while she is a if you have nothing better case, that 3%, and it's not 100%, so it might be only 3%, it might be 0, it might be 9%, a little bit too hard to build around. Devitalize is absolutely useful, but the problem is once you get a cold heart, you're going to get the heal reduction under that anyway. But overall, not a great champion. She does hit okay. Multipliers are decent for a rare, but she didn't quite perform the way I thought she would and hoped she would when I built her up. Gear Grinder is actually an amazing little rare champion. Really good in the faction. I think they've added other factions, but he does have a revive and a heal. So that kind of makes him a unique kit. It revives a dead ally with 50% HP and 50% turn meter on a 5-turn cooldown. Really good skill for a rare. And we built him out for that. I think I built him out for one of the secret rooms, to be honest, because I'd already passed Ogre and Tribes by the time he was made. But also has 15% heal. It's unfortunate it's of their max HP, not his, but you know, whatever. And then he's got this. This is actually a sneaky good one, because even though it's only a 7.5, it's for himself, but it's on his A1, so you can keep going. And he does have the ally HP and faction crypts. I would say if you're looking for a budget champion to use in Ogre and Tribe, which he better be Ogre and Tribe. I'm sure he's Ogre and Tribe. Here's the guy that you probably want to build out. Bulwark might be one of the better rares. I would say probably a top 10 rare in the game. He has a very unique and strong kit. You can see he's probably still wearing the gear from when I originally built him. Maybe not, but it feels like it with the lifestyle. I might have built him up for a video, but his big deal is he's a budget version of Vizier. He does buff extension based on a passive anytime he gets attacked. He even has an aura, all battles by 17%. You put him as your lead and clan boss. He has an HP burn, and if you don't have a weaken coming in, it is the baby weaken. But getting any sort of weaken when you don't have another champion, put it on there on his A1, really good in a counterattack team. Really good for affinity because he's neutral affinity. You put him as lead, and as long as you can keep the attack on him, you're getting so many opportunities because the clan boss hits, I think it's 2 and 4 times, plus the 1 time on the stun. If you can't get him to be the stun target, so be it, but at least you're getting those extensions. And this champion got me to Nightmare 2 key before I moved over to Unkillable and was able to get to Ultra Nightmare Unkillable. So very strong champion overall. And he's very tanky as well. You see he's got, you know, 1266 doesn't look like a lot, but you can really build that nicely. It's actually kind of shocking you can get these kind of stats when you have such low base stats, but in the end he puts good damage, he extends buffs, really strong champion overall. Now Steadfast Marshal was a failed attempt at a very unique build in Clan Boss. This is back during the days that I loved building Clan Boss teams. I was building Nightmare Clan Boss teams for everyone and anyone out there. Non-unkillable, different opportunities. Now, the theory behind this champion was amazing. However, the actual practice of this champion failed miserably. And this was actually an I'm going to call it an unintentional collab with Murder. We were talking very briefly about how we could use it, if this could be used, and we're just talking like a 5-minute conversation about him, and I said, you know what, shit, let's give it a try. So I built him out and tried to use him. Now the theory was, look, this guy gets an extra turn on hold fast, right? But if he's the stun target because he puts everyone under veil but him, we can actually make that work. We don't block the stun. So this keeps to a 3-turn cooldown because it'll go to extra turn means it's a 2-turn cooldown, but the 1 round he gets stunned puts it back to a 3-turn. So everything works perfectly. And in theory, amazing. You can make sure you can build this champion as tanky AF, and he will always take the stun. Now, 20k HP, yeah, his defense isn't great, but you can actually make that work for you. You can make him take the stun quite a lot. The problem is 3% RNG. The reason why this did not work is because all it would take is for one time for the boss not to stun him and it would fall out of tune, because then all of a sudden this was a 2-turn cooldown instead of a 3-turn because of the extra turn, and it fell apart. So unfortunately this didn't work, and it should have, but RNG, for the one time that RNG is supposedly on your favor, was the one time it's absolutely screwed me. Which was unfortunate because I thought that was the next level. That was a 5-head clan boss that just wasn't able to work. You know, we'd get 20 turns and then eventually that stun would be. And amazingly, because we needed the stun to land, it didn't. I don't know how many times out of 100, but it didn't land every time. I never got through a full kind of where, you know, it should have gone, you know, where everyone wiped or that sort of thing. So unfortunate, but it was fun to try anyway. So I don't regret the build. Reliquary Tender, pretty self-explanatory. She's got the Revive, she's got a Cleanse. She's a really strong rare champion. She was added to the game, and among rares, she's another top 10 for sure. Seducer I used for an all-rare Ice Golem team. We were playing around there. I think it might have been for a challenge or like a creator challenge or something like that. He's got a good kit. Forget this because it's only with Temptress on the team, but he does have a 2-turn block debuff and a 4-turn cooldown, so you can absolutely use this to your advantage. It's a baby increased defense, but it's better than nothing. Baby decreased attack, better than nothing. And has a 30% chance to place a sleep debuff for 1 turn. Is kind of a throwaway skill, but still, if you can tune to make this work, especially on Ice Golem on the ads. And then what I would do is I put him in a stun set because it's attack all enemies on a 3-turn cooldown, at least giving yourself the opportunity. But very good rare champion. Again, he's got a long storied history, and someone that definitely you can build out. Another top champion, and not just so. Painkeeper came into fame when the Dual Unkillable, the Bat Eater, and all these sort of comps came around, because of her 10% boost allowed us to basically 2-to-1 the boss with the double Man Eater, with Seeker, Painkeeper, and whatever damage dealer you were using. But honestly, this is a great champion anyway. I know it's only a 1-turn cooldown, but in Faction Wars, this makes it easy. I do about a minute 10 on my Dark Elves. And absolutely because of this, also has a heal, right? So this is a big deal. It's 15% of this champion's max HP, which is really nice. Still has that HP attack, but my god, I'm done complaining about it. And then has this champion's turn meter by 10%. Not a big deal in normal play, but of course for the clan boss, this is the key that makes it work, that allows her to skip over that and keep that 2-to-1 going. So overall, great champion. Also has an aura and faction crypts. One of my favorite champions for faction crypts that I didn't even know I needed until I built my Man-Eater comp. And then, holy crap, Painkeeper makes this team better. I don't get those random wipes because of the heals. So, really good champion. Malbranch. Malbranch is the other champion I pulled from Void Shards to do an I Built Them series. She hits way harder than I thought, but her kit's still kind of garbage. Does have arena speed. Okay. Attacks this enemy and puts a bomb debuff. It's got more books than versions of the Holy Bible. She has a counterattack on herself. Okay. This does decrease bomb debuff detonation. I think once I was trying to put 3 of her, and I had the other ones at 50. With a bomb champion to see if I could put take a bomb champion, put bombs down, and then just use counterattack, and it didn't work. Not a very good champion, although hit way harder than I thought. Overall, probably not a champion you're going to need to build. Bellower is, I mean, you must know about Bellower. He's got 3 AoEs. He's a perfect farmer. I actually didn't build him for farming, mind you. I didn't pull him in time to use him as my farmer for 12-3 Brutal. But he was integral in Faction Wars for a long time for me. He's what helped me get through. There's been plenty of people showing 3 and 4 of these in Faction Wars. Just in a strong... his kit is good. His damage is good. The fact that he's got 3 AoEs is the key here. And so you can put him in stun sets and really just own. He does have a Faction Crypt Speed Aura. He does have a baby decrease, baby attack, baby decrease speed, and a block active skills. And remember, these are all AoE, so you can actually really mess with, even with a pair of these and stun sets, you can really mess with the opponent in just about any area. I think Bellower is, utility-wise, might be one of the best rares. I know it's the baby versions of stuff, and people always want the big version, but again, sometimes you take what you can get, and definitely he smacks. Felhound is the champion I was using as my farmer. I got Felhound rather early on, built him out to be my campaign farmer, but he also helped me get through Faction Wars 20, or sorry, not Faction Wars, Fire Knight 20, when I was doing the missions for Arbiter. The reason is because he has a reflect damage, so I was able to use this here, the reflect damage, with some heals to deal with the Fire Knight shield. It was not fun to tune. He also has an AoE Ravage. I suspect he'd be better now than he was, because this always got in the way. He would put a block damage on the leader when you needed him to use reflect damage, etc. But now you can just lock this out. So I think nowadays he might even be better if you're having problems in Fire Knight. Use Void Affinity, so any sort of thing. Also, cool fact, spiders. Actually, are really good now that you can lock out that deflect ability, because that sometimes screws with things when the spiderlings are attacking. They won't attack you with block damage all the time. But if you lock that out, he's a good coin flip. I hate coin flip normally. Coin flip method is, of course, if he loses enough damage, he'll counterattack based on the mastery, and then the Ravage with him in lifesteal will heal himself back up. You've basically got a 50-50 chance of that proccing, which also, of course, means that's why they call it a coin flip, the coin flip method. He can typically take 3 hits, and then he's dead, because the 4th hit will be 0 health, right? But it does kind of work if you're just trying to get through spiders in the very, very early game to get through the missions, to get, 10 times on auto. So Felhound is an option, especially now that you can lock out that deflect. Renegade, probably the most useful. I don't know, it's tough. There's a lot of there's a lot of very useful rares in this game, but I think Renegade has, it's one of the most end game of the rares because it activates the Seer comp, it activates any sort of comp where you want to take multiple turns, because she's like a baby Kymar. It is only a 2-turn cooldown. Nonetheless, overall really good. I currently use my Fire Knight team because she also has a 3-hit A2. So we lock out the A2 in rounds 1 and 2, and then that's the first thing she's going to use. On round 3 against the boss, 3 hits against the shield, very good, especially in those upper levels when you need those 2 extra hits. So I use her in that comp currently, but I've used her in just about every dungeon with Seer. I have 2 Kymars, but a lot of the times she's just an easier way to do things, depending on the zone, depending on where you're at and what you're doing. 3 Cold Hearts. I don't need to explain to you why I have Cold Hearts. Enemy max HP, rare champion, speed runs. I use all 3 currently in my Spider with Crypt King Grawl. Obviously a solid champion that everybody yearns to have. Next up with Blood Mask. So Blood Mask is he's a champion. He's again a Shadowkin. This guy's actually useful and helped me get past one of the secret rooms because of the skull fracture. Now I had to manual, but because I can basically make him pretty fast, I want to say I used him with the cooldown. I can't remember now, but being able to stun, having the decreased speed, better than you think, and then the turn meter piece. So just kind of these two were just kind of trying to play with turn meters best I can, but the big deal was this 100% chance of placing a stun, which meant whoever was the highest turn meter on their team, I could lock them out, and that would give me a chance to get my other champions to do other things, especially having Soulbound Boyer, which we'll talk about in a bit. So I originally just built him because I was building Shadowkin, but actually used him in secret rooms. Alkalite also for secret rooms. He's got a removes all debuffs, so he's got a nice cleanse. He's got a 100% chance of reducing turn meter. Again, this was oh sorry, it's a 90% chance. Really, player? 90% chance? Anyway, used him in conjunction with Blood Mask on that secret room. Again, just controlling turn meters till my damage dealers could kill people. It was a slow, arduous thing, but it was to actually get my Ramontu. I remember it, so absolutely a good champion. For that, again, hey, it's a 4-turn cooldown on a 95, if you get the extra 5 or whatever, chance of reducing turn meter by 50%. That's a big deal out of a rare. You pair that with a couple Cold Hearts and you can turn meter the absolute crap out of anyone. Plus he's got a cleanse. Plus he's got filling his own turn meter, which means he can cycle quicker. Overall, pretty decent kit out of an otherwise... that just randomly decided to mess with me. Okay. Next up, War Maiden. Don't gotta say a lot. She's farmable. She's got the AoE defense down. She's an attack-based champion, hard to keep alive. But honestly, the big thing is 14k health is bigger than a lot. So she's not actually as hard to keep alive as you would think for a rare. But yeah, she's the early to mid-game dream. And I still use her in Faction Wars. Ironclad. Ironclad has a unique kit, and I'm looking forward to trying him out with the buffed version of Woad Painted. But if you can see here, when he's healed, he will attack enemies, inflict damage proportional to any surplus heal. Damage inflicted is equal to 50% of any surplus heal. So this is going to be a very interesting splash damage ability that I'm really curious to see how it works with Load Painted. So, but yeah, used him in the same room. It must have been a Force Affinity room, but I'm not too sure. I can't remember what it was. Rare something, all force rare maybe, but definitely used Ironclad in there and just kept healing them, and splash damage just helped us win. Heiress has she's kind of one of those tricky champions you don't think about, but it removes one random buff from all allies, has a 60% chance of placing the increased speed. This is what activates the Heiress Demetha comps. So my current clan boss team uses her. She has a passive also that's kind of neat, counterattacks the attacker when an ally is attacked, and grants an extra turn if the target is killed, which of course we're not using, but kind of a neat overall skill. This Lifetaker is another, I built her because she was a Shadowkin. Not really good. She's got a perfect veil, self-perfect veil with reflect damage. Has the big decreased speed. And each hit has a chance of decreasing the turn meter, and then the third one has a 50 bookable to 75% chance of placing decreased speed. So, you know, if you need that turn meter control and you have no one else, it might be worthwhile. And then has a 40% chance of placing the heal reduction. Might be a champion that you're like, oh, I need this skill, so she's the only one I have, or I need this skill, she's the only one I have. But as far as a complete champion, you're probably not going to use her past a very specific scenario until you get someone better. Gravechill might be one of the most underrated rares in the game. Her, along with Frozen Banshee, working together, they are unstoppable. In fact, so unstoppable that I couldn't use them on one of the last clan boss teams I had made using Frozen Banshee, included Gravechill Killer. And the problem was they were capping the boss's debuffs too quickly. So the deal is that she puts the big poison down if there's a poison sensitivity debuff, which Frozen Banshee puts. So as long as you put them in the same order, and then puts the big decreased defense as long as there's a poison. So it works really nicely, and then has a poison on her A1. Very good overall. I would say any boss tackler. I have not used her in Hydra because 99% of the Hydra bosses you can't use poison, which is absolutely ridiculous. I think there should at least be a couple. There's a couple you can put poisons on, but poisons are even capped and the number of damage. It just seems like, why is there not a weakness to poison from one of these heads so that we have these poison champions that we can use? Anyway, very good champion. Very underrated champion. I think the reason why she's not as used is because War Maiden's so easy to get, which makes it kind of like, why would I build her out when I already have a War Maiden doing the defense down? But I like the extra poisons. It's just a fun comp. And, you know, also Deadwood Jedi had a competition for the most damage on Nightmare from a rare. I came in third using the Frozen Banshee Gravechill Killer combo. So, yeah, good champion. Flashmonger. Flashmonger is a boss because he's got that. No, that's not why. I think it's an extra turn. It's this right here. It's the decreased defense. It's 75% chance, but anytime you're doing the secret rooms that require I think this is an attack-based champion, isn't he? Yeah, he's an attack-based champion. I knew it. I knew it all along. I didn't even have to look. So that's where he's going to be good in those secret rooms. You can also use him in faction wars if you need it. Skinwalker, defense down, always a good idea. Rmidian. I believe I was trying to build him out for a secret room and he didn't work. Because he had the ally protection for 2 turns and the continuous heal on him, the thought was that he would protect, put him in a stun set, he's got the decreased attack, and then he can even provoke someone. I imagine he might work, but for me, for whatever reason, I just couldn't get him to work in what I was doing. I think we completed it a different way, but that was the whole point of him, is just being a cheap stalwart type champion who can absorb some damage. Frozen Banshee, not a lot to say about that you don't probably already know. Very good champion for the clan boss. can heal herself with lifesteal. She's got the poison sensitivity. She actually does have a turn meter boost as well that you typically use, but it's 2% for each debuff on the target, which is an interesting one. But against bosses, if you're loading up poisons, could be a good little one. But the big thing is she's got the poison sensitivity, and then she's able to put poisons up as long as there's a poison sensitivity. So yeah, well documented history in Clan Boss being a top tier champion. I used Coffin Smasher in my Clan Boss for a little while, from when he first came out to when I switched to Unkillable, and he's actually a boss. First of all, he's got 21,000 HP, which is obscene for a rare. Secondly, he's got a 3-hit. Now it's what, 25%, no, 30% chance each hit. But if you're using him in a counterattack team, that's more than enough. And he has HP burn. And he decreases the damage enemies inflict with AoE attacks by 5%. So, you know, overall, just a solid champion for Clan Boss. Arguably, though, if you're having some problems in Knight's Rev, I believe, you can put him in a shield set. He's got plenty of HP, but he's not buffing, so he's not ruining the Valkyrie waves. I've never tried it, but theoretically, this guy could actually help some survivability if you needed it. So don't sleep on him. He's a pretty good champion. I built Kale to prove that Elhain was better. Kale came out slightly ahead, though only because of his poisons, which we've got so many poison champions. That's always been my argument about Elaine over Kale, is that Elaine, she surpasses Kale in damage the later game you go, so she's usable for longer. But she's got multiple multi-hit abilities, so overall I like her better for an account. But Kale has a poison, so he's kind of the easy mode early game, because those poisons allow you to do early Clan Boss, which I think that's such a weak argument, because until you hit Brutal, Clan Boss is useless. But also really good for Dragon, because he's placing the poisons, which helps kill that dragon a lot sooner. My counterpoint is only, hey, there's so many poisoners in the game now, you're probably going to get one fairly early on. You're probably going to pull one before you get to the point where you need that for Dragon, which is like 15 to 20, maybe even 13 to 20, which on my free-to-play account, I got Frozen Banshee pretty early on, so held true for me. But, you know, it's A1, or 1A, 1B. They're both really good starter champions. I think Kale gets all the fanfare, but I think Elhain should not be ignored. And Elaine was my starter, so that's why I built her. Executioner, I built him for a secret room, didn't use him. He got nerfed like 3 years ago. He used to be a really good champion for farming, and then they nerfed him to the point where he can't, just enough. He's not great. He does have an AoE. I don't know. He was kind of a meme. I don't really use him. I tried to use him for a secret room, and I think it was magic attack or something, but ended up not, or just magic rares, because I think he's a defense-based champion. Yeah, he's a defense-based champion. So, I don't know. Some people still say he's good. I disagree. I wouldn't build him. Apothecary, a well-documented top champion, heals, turn meter, speed. He's got everything. He's such a great utility for the early game. He's got a dungeon defense up. He's got the increased speed with the turn meter. He's got a big-ass heal, 35% HP, can critical. So if you splash extra... Now, there's always been talk of whether or not the critical matters. A lot of people say, no, you don't build them out, just build them out at HP. I've always built mine with crit rate. Sorry, excuse me. And then Scatterbolt's a 3-hit. So the couple areas where people don't normally think about using them, but very good in Fire Knight, because he has enough survivability. You can build him up for enough survivability that he'll be fine in Fire Knight. And he's got a multi-hit A1, which really helps. Also, Clan Boss. Early on, you put him with Giant Slayer. That multi-hit A1 works really well. I built out a Bissell for a secret room and never used him. I mean, he's got heals. He's got a block buffs, which is kind of whatever. Faction Crypt's aura. And then he's got 2 baby increases. on all allies. So it's not, he's not awful, but he just wasn't enough for me to end up using him. Soulbound, very strong champion. She's got turn meter depletion. She's got ignores defense, and she's got an AoE that, and all of her skills are 25% extra chance to crit. Plus, she's got a crit rate in all battles, so you can really build her out very low crit rate, and she gets the extra from her abilities. Just makes her an easy champion to build out with some really good damage for a rare. Mother Superior was my first healer. I didn't get Apothecary for a little while. Built up Mother Superior. She's a poor version of, but if you need a healer in the early game, I wouldn't advise against it. I think she's decent for it. She does put a little shield. She puts a baby heal. She's got the 30% of this champion's max HP, which once you start building out, the 16k isn't a lot, but it's still better than nothing, and a 30% in the early game can be really helpful. And can actually place a shield buff equal to any surplus. So not the worst. And I think, honestly, if I knew how to play the game better when I was first playing, I could have probably made better use of her. I think she's probably underrated as a healer, but once you get Apothecary, she's kind of redundant. So, Master Butcher, I built him out, never used him for the Bommel. He's part of a Bommel comp that I can't even remember what all it is, but he can revive a random ally with full HP when this champion is killed. When attacked, heals all allies equal to the amount of damage taken. Does not work against bosses. I feel like that used to work against bosses or something, because I thought it did. Oh, I know why. Because I think the ads, the splash ads in Bommel would work, so he was still healing all allies. And then who cares about that? I think it was just with the other abilities. It's got some provokes, but never ended up really using them. I like putting them in faction wars when I need a rare champion for one of the advanced quests. Maiden we were using for a secret room. It's mainly for the what was it? I don't even know why. I think it was just for the freeze. Not very good. Didn't oh, that's why, because it was the baby decreased defense, but it was on all enemies for 2 turns if the attack was critical. That's why we did it. It was just a thought. Didn't work. But, oh well. Metal Shaper, built them out mainly for videos. I was going to do a video on the different ways to beat the Scarab boss. The problem is that at the time, no content creator was getting Doom Tower videos watched. No one cared to watch them. So I thought, geez, probably not worth me building it out. If the big boys aren't getting good views on it, how the heck am I going to build one out? So I ended up not doing the video and never really used the champion for it. Gnarlhorn, very underrated champion. The key to this champion is just build him for as much survivability as you can. He's got an unkillable for 2 turns, and then you can provoke for 1 turn. So you want to put your unkillable, then you want to provoke the enemy. You also get a baby increased defense, and then just try to heal him up. Also, this is kind of a meme because it increases damage, but it can't be strong, critical, or weak hit. You're not building them out for that. You're just building them for the lockdown. Really good in that secret room for Spirit Affinity champions. Berserker, same thing. He has the AoE 2 times, ignores 20% defense. You build them out good damage. You build them out in a stun set, and then he can fill his turn meter and stuff. So, again, probably wouldn't build him if I could do it again. I did beat the room once, and that's the only. I'll never do it again. It's not worth it. It's not worth putting the gear on, swapping it around. It was a pain in the ass. It took me many times, so I regret it. And I wouldn't really build them out for anything else. Spirit Host, she's free, and she's got a block debuffs. You can farm her. She's got the big boy increased attack, and heals by 50% of the damage inflicted. That's not a big deal for her, but she's got the speed battles aura. She was a good budget way back in the day when Arena wasn't broken. It actually had some levels to it, so when you were in Bronze, you could use her as your lead, and it would really work. Unfortunately, now Bronze has like arbiters in it, so not as good now. And then for the bonus round, Dervish. A couple videos ago, take a look at it. My alternatives based on a viewer comment on a YouTube. Use Dervish. She still put close to 30 mil damage on the clan boss. Cool champion, and that was just lock everything out, use the A1, and away you go. Also, if you just don't have a decreased defense, maybe your early game probably would work out that way as well. Although I don't know how you'd have it unkillable and not a defense down, but you never know. You never know. Weirder shit's happen. Maybe they don't know about War Maiden. And then, of course, well-documented armager. I had 2 of them for a video for a comp, but I use one of them, oddly enough, with the heart. I use him in a reflex set in Dragon. And the key here is this has a 2-turn cooldown. So every second hit, he's doing enemy max HP. And because on levels 21 through 25, you're capped at 10% of the boss's HP on enemy max HP hits, he does as much damage as any of the other enemy max HP champions. So I thought, well, there we go. We use him. We put him in a reflex set. We might get 3 or 4 turns in a row. That's 40% damage in 4 turns. Really helpful, and it's with a seer comp. So seer takes care of the waves, and then they get in there and he starts helping out, and it's about a minute 10, which is more than enough for me. I'm more than satisfied with that. I think it goes up to a minute 30 depending on RNG. So that's all the rares I've built. That's how I used them. Let's recap the ones that I would recommend. If someone asked me what rares would you recommend building, and it's all depends is the real answer, but just as a blanket statement, I would recommend Dagger, I would recommend Gear Grinder, Bulwark, Reliquary Tender, Seducer, Painkeeper, Bellower, Felhound, Renegade, Cold Heart obviously. I would recommend Blood Mask, really good for those secret rooms. War Maiden, Ironclad for the same reason, secret rooms. Heiress if you're going to try to do the Myth Air. Gravechill specifically if you have Frozen Banshee and you're pairing them together. There's only like one other champion I think that has poison sensitivity, so she really needs that to activate properly. Flashmonger, definitely. Obviously for Frozen Banshee. Coffin Smasher, your starter champion, doesn't matter who it is. Apothecary, Soulbound Boyer, maybe Mother Superior if you don't have Apothecary. I wouldn't argue against it. And Narl Horn and Spirit Host. Those are the rares that I think are good. The rest of these are very situational, and you probably would never come across a point to need to build them, but that's who I would build. So that's what it is. Just a little kind of look at rare champions, where I use them, how I use them. Maybe it was something a little different on the channel. I hope you enjoyed it. If you didn't, blame Ash, because that's who I blatantly stole this idea from. But if you loved it, please give 100% credit to me. Ash already has 100,000 people following him and doesn't need your help. But watch his videos anyway, because they're entertaining. And then come watch mine. And then tell all his friends to watch mine. Or watch mine twice. 10 times. Different computers. In fact, different IPs. So just drive around town hitting different coffee shops and watch my... Whatever. Thank you. Be kind, be safe, and we'll see you in the next video.